Relax, the keyboard is off, the press box is closed, and the mic is just getting warmed up as the guardian of the blue paint turned writer is about to enlighten us. The show where the writer is fresh off the presses and the ink is not dry. For this week's show, making informed decisions, what the Flyers should try. Welcome to the Hockey Writers Inc. Join Lance and Steel as we bring you all the latest on the Flyers.
Hi guys, welcome back to another edition of the Hockey Writers Inc. As always, I'm your host, Lance Green.
And I'm your co-host, SteelFlyers. And boy, oh boy, have we got a really, really good one here for you today, folks. That's right. We're talking about the Flyers making informed decisions and what they should do. That's right. Making informed decisions and what the Flyers should do. That's the title of this episode. We are on episode 68, 69. I don't know.
There's been a lot. There's been a lot.
We've done a lot. Anyway, so Lance has been writing a series of articles for Flyers Nitty Gritty over the last couple of weeks based off of decisions that the Flyers should probably make based off of what other teams are doing. What other teams are doing is being successful. All you have to do is look at the models. LA Kings, Tampa Bay Lightning, yada, yada, Colorado Avalanche, Anaheim. All these teams are drafting, keeping their guys, and then putting out a really good product. Philadelphia has lacked drastically, significantly in those areas in the last, 10, 15 years, I'd say? Easily.
Yeah, since Drew's been there, for sure.
Since Drew's been there, right? And now Drew's gone, and now there's nothing, and
no successor, yeah.
No successor, no nothing. And the fact that they even had to trade Drew. I mean, that just goes to show you the level of incompetence, as far as I'm concerned, in this organization. Lance, you wrote two great articles that discuss this major issue that's going on here with Philadelphia. And the first one we're going to talk about is part 2 that you just posted here a little while ago. And it's things that other NHL teams do that make sense and that the Flyers should try, part 2. And you break it down so eloquently. So why don't you do that? Break it down here, man. Give us your philosophy of why you did these series of articles, and specifically part 2, and then we'll get into part 3 later.
So yeah, I got these articles together basically under the thought process of just watching other teams. Obviously, the Flyers weren't doing so well and haven't all season. So what I did is I went out there and studied some of these other teams and really looked at a deeper impasse with them, and found out that, there could be a lot of things that the Flyers should try that other teams, successful NHL teams, are doing. And in this second part of the series here, it's simply put as let the kids play. With that, I took a look at a few teams in the NHL who are doing just that, letting their kids play. And, the Flyers' average age, I think, before the trades just happened, was well over 29 years of age. Mm-hmm. And that's significant, actually the third highest of anyone in the NHL. And that's with the Islanders having being first with Zdeno Chara, who's nearly 45 years old, and the Washington Capitals with Ovechkin creeping up there as well. So drastic change has happened over hockey's landscape, and teams are getting away, besides the Flyers, are getting away from playing those dinosaurs of such and filling the roster with overage veterans, over-the-hill veterans that just are well past their prime. Now teams are relying on, are okay with inexperience as long as they have speed and they have talent behind that. And they're willing to take that inexperience and let them have time to grow. And it's successful in a sense. So.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, because they're not letting the kids play. Do you know what I mean? And I think that is a serious, serious issue, because you're and even now that the Flyers have made their trades, right? They got rid of Brassard, they got rid of Braun,
Right.
you know what I mean? And they got rid of Rubasov, and they got rid of Connor Bunnaman, right? So now they have some space to bring in some of the NCAA guys, like Bobby Brink was one of the guys that Chuck specifically mentioned in his press conference.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I like what you pointed out, even in the first article, about what like the LA Kings are doing. And I think this ties in directly with this article by letting the kids play.
I think it does.
Because what LA's doing is they brought all their kids and they brought them into their AHL team. Yes. So none of their prospects are playing for the OHL or the ECHL or even their college teams. Like, they brought their guys in to play for them.
Yeah, all their top prospects are in one location, very close to them, with the Reign in the AHL. Some other it's not saying that all their prospects are there. It's their top ones. The Flyers have guys playing in the KHL. They have guys playing in the Liga in Finland. They have guys playing in the SHL in Sweden. They have guys playing in the Czech major leagues over there. They have guys playing, a couple of guys playing in the AHL. They have most of their guys playing in the Canadian junior leagues. NCAA, everywhere, all over the place, right? So the Flyers had a problem with not only drafting, but I think they drafted some good players, but they had problem more so with development.
Yes.
And with that, the Flyers just are depending too much on other people halfway across the world to develop their prospects. They're keeping them there way too long.
Yes.
Everybody knows that the CHL has a situation there where teams have to send them back if they're not currently on the NHL roster, until they're 20 years of age pretty much, and can then come over to the AHL. But that's not all leagues. You have leagues all over the world that a guy that is a kid that's 19 years old can then sign, even 18, can sign with the AHL, and you would have them in your own backyard up here in Lehigh Valley, and you would have your own coaches developing them. And that's what the Kings have done, and it has been successful. You have all the kids that you drafted playing together, learning your team's systems together, so that it's not a culture shock when they get called up to the NHL and they're familiar with the guys that are up there, because, hey, maybe a guy or two that they have played with at the AHL level is already up there and can show them around there. It's not coming over from Sweden and stepping into a huge culture shock and then taking 2 or 3 years to really develop at the NHL level, or going back and forth so much. It's so simple. It seems so simple, but the Flyers don't do it. And multiple teams don't do it. I don't know why you would want some guy halfway across the world developing your star players, and with that, the players, they keep them there way too long, and they're very successful maybe in those leagues, but they're not challenged enough in those leagues either. Mm-hmm. You look at Bobby Brink, who's a Hobie Baker Award candidate for the NCAA. That's great, but should he may have come a year earlier and played this season with the Phantoms?
I think so.
And been more challenged. Yeah. Connor McLennan, who's out in the WHL, is having an amazing year. Should he come over? I don't know. A lot of these guys are creeping towards 20 years old now. Like I said, that there's that barrier created with the CHL, but it's difficult. It's very difficult, and I don't understand why the Flyers want somebody else taking care of their prospects and teaching them.
See, that's the thing right there. because these guys are half a world away. And you are, depending on these other people that are going to develop these guys. How do you know they're going to develop them to be the type of player that you want them to be?
Right.
I mean, this goes all the way back and just goes to show you that Philadelphia has a development problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they take these great players, and there have been some really good players that have come into the Flyers organization. Okay, but one, they play them out of position. Mm-hmm. Two, they don't develop them in-house. Three, they get good and then they can't keep them. Right? Because they play out of position. Now and then you ruin these guys. You get a guy who scores 109 points in juniors, and you bring him up to the big club, and now he's winning a Selke trophy for the best defensive forward. Well, what?
Oh, you look at NAK. He's one of the latest examples as well. He's having great success in Colorado. Because
playing in his position.
They're playing him in his position, and they're playing him as the player he was drafted as, an offensive talent, rather than making him a grinder and a fourth-line player that he's not. And, they're doing the same thing with Cam York right now. He's a left-hand shot defender. That's a little bit different on the defensive end, but they're making him play top-line minutes on the right side.
His offside.
Like, that's hard to do. That's hard to do.
You don't do that to a guy that's coming in who's learning.
You don't throw that to a kid and make him, try to wing it. Like, play Provorov on his off wing. I mean, he's the veteran. If you had to play anybody.
I think that the perfect example of this complete and utter dysfunctional system was the whole Sam Moran debacle, where the coach went to him and said, "Yeah, can you play wing?"
Yeah,
like he's a defenseman.
How about you draft wingers?
Hey, what do you know?
How many centers have we tried to make wingers over the years? I mean, Scott Lawton, he was a center. Claude Giroux, a center. Hey, we don't have any wingers. Let's play at wing. How about you draft talented wingers?
Gosh, hey, how about if you just draft talent? Hey, what about that?
I think they do. I think they have drafted talent. I think it's more so, yes, they've made wrong decisions in the past for sure. And we've done lists of those on the show before, but for the most part, they draft talented players. It's just the development aspect of it and the misuse of them.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the hardcore part of it. Like I said, we have okay. In the last couple of years, say 10 years, Philadelphia has successfully drafted a few players in the lower rounds and have successfully drafted a couple players in the upper rounds. Okay, Sean Couturier being one of them, being one of the successful. But the successes are so few and far between because the misses are so much. Like, they draft a player and they bring, like, I'll give you a perfect example. Isaac Radcliffe. How long has he been in the system? German Rubasov. How long has he been in the system? Right?
Morgan Frost. Yeah.
Morgan Frost. How long have these guys been in the system? How long?
4 or 5 years, 6 years.
Okay, look, as far as I'm concerned, it only should take a player about, 2-3 years?
Well, it depends where they're drafted. I mean, 5 years isn't unheard of for a guy drafted in the 5th, 6th, 7th round.
Yeah, but we're talking about people that were drafted in the 1st and 2nd round here.
1st and 2nd round, yeah. 1st and 2nd round should be able to play, if early enough, they should be able to play the next season, if not a year or two after that.
Okay, yeah, see, exactly. 2 years, 2-3. You draft a player that's pretty decent. You can pretty much look at that player and go, all right, he's 2 years out, 3 years out. Mm-hmm. Right? Or a lot of times defensemen and goaltenders tend to be 4 or 5 years out because it takes them a little longer to develop their game in the professional level. Okay. Sure. And that's completely understandable because it's a much more different game. You're not just, skating around there, shooting the puck in the net. You know, I'm not saying that wingers and centermen don't have, you know, responsibilities, but a defenseman is a much more different position, and a goaltender is a much more different position than a forward or a winger. Okay. So it takes more time for those people to develop. But that's my point. They're not giving the guys enough time to develop, and they're throwing them out there into the fire, or they're developing them in a very wrong way, where they're putting them on the off wing, they're putting them in their unnatural positions, or they're making them be something that they're not, or they're trying to convert them into something, or, you know, whatever.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it happens every year. My thing was, why did Wisdom go back to the OHL this year?
Why?
You know, he got injured. I get that, but wouldn't you want after the success he had at the AHL level? Why send him backwards?
I mean,
I don't get it. And why send guys back to juniors that have had 100+ point seasons? Like, it's not challenging them.
No.
So why send them back so they can score 125 next season? Like, what? What's
you know
the
what
point?
I mean?
What's the point?
No, I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. And that's what leads us into, I think we could probably lead us into the second article here, which is part 3. Because, look, now that the Flyers have finally gotten rid of some of these players, they can start letting some of the kids play, but I haven't really seen that much. I mean, I've seen Cam come up, and he's pretty much stayed, but I haven't heard or seen anything else about what's going on. I mean, like, I know the Final Four, the NCAA Final Frozen Four, is coming up here real soon, which, by the way, folks, Lance, the great writer extraordinaire, will be ice side for that one. Will you not?
Yeah, I am going to be up in Allentown this weekend for the regional championships, and of course the Frozen Four is up in Mass. But this is everything leading up to it. So yeah, Michigan, St. Cloud State,
nice.
A lot of good teams up there this weekend. So looking forward to getting to see those games for sure and covering them.
That's awesome. That's awesome, dude.
Great.
That's awesome.
Just
I
great.
can't wait to see some of that product coming out of those games that you watch, because I'm sure that you're going to be looking at some players that potentially could be helping this Flyers team big time.
Well, yeah, there is a lot of great NCAA players over the years recently. So, we can definitely take a gander at those guys
for sure.
If the Flyers want to have success, how much success has Michigan had over the years? Obviously, with Cam York playing there, but yes, one of the best teams in the league. So
yeah,
very interesting. So
going to be exciting, man. Going to be exciting. I'm really excited for you. I think this is great opportunity for you to go up there and cover those guys and see that, because we're all about the kids. Look, we love draft prospects. We love kids that are coming in. We love kids that have potential. We want to see all of these guys make it into the NHL and then be successful. Okay, we don't want to see guys fail. I mean, it happens, but we like to see the guys come in and be successful. You know what I mean? So with that being said, we're going to move on to the next article that Lance wrote here as part of this series, and it's making better informed decisions. Other teams, things that other NHL teams are doing that the Flyers should be doing. And this was just posted out onto Flyers Nitty Gritty here not too long ago, on the 22nd of March. And so this is pretty fresh, but I'm going to tell you something here, folks. Lance really captures exactly what is going on here. And in this third article of this part of this series here, Lance, making better informed decisions, man.
Yeah. So if we're just going over, certain points to this article, to really get a full picture of it, you guys really need to go to the website and read it. There's a lot of stats in there, a lot of factual, in your face information that really opens your eyes to what's happening
What you mean?
here.
You take time
I
and
do.
study
I do.
and research and do all that back end work for all this stuff? What, are you kidding? You mean you're a journalist? But yeah,
So,
no, fill us in, man, because you make some really great points. You point out two really good teams that are doing it the right way.
sure. So for this article, I focus more on the Flyers defense and other teams' defenses. The way the Flyers have built themselves over the years is heavily with offensive-minded defensemen.
Yeah.
All right. We had Felipe Myers, we had Gostisbehere,
Yep.
all the Sanheims in there.
I mean, even Provorov is more offensive minded.
Provorov is offensive minded, pretty much. Ryan Ellis is brought in. He's still pretty offensive minded, but he has a decent plus minus rating when he's on the ice. But that, for all intents and purposes, making smarter decisions, more informed decisions on the defensive end. Ryan Ellis, great player in his own right, but he's played one full season ever of 82 games in 11 years. All right.
Wow.
Informed decisions here. Let's look at the whole picture. How is he going to be successful if he's not helped the team to success if he's not out on the ice?
Right.
And another person we want to look at, he was just re-signed by the Flyers. One of my favorite players because of the physicality that he brings and all that is Rasmus Ristolainen. Great player, but he's a career minus 174, guys. That's a problem. Yes, he played for Buffalo before this, but he hasn't changed. His numbers haven't changed much since he's been with the Flyers.
No, they haven't.
So
no, it's not like he's playing with that much of a. I mean, let's face it. He went from Buffalo, who are actually playing better now than what Philadelphia is playing. So he went from a bad team to a worse team.
Could it be him though? Too. I mean, I really like this kid, but they're better because they brought in Robert Hagg, which they just traded as well. But other people, once he left, their defense got better.
Go figure.
So if you look at it, this season the Flyers have given up an average of 3.43 goals per game. They've allowed 34 shots per game on average, which isn't great. They have given up 44 power play goals this season at the time I wrote this article. All right. That's nearly double the league's best defensive teams numbers on the power play as well. So they're very ineffective on the penalty.
Carolina's power or penalty kill is like almost at 90%.
Amazing. And there's reasons for that we'll get to. Philadelphia stopped on average only 75.42% of their penalty kill situations. All right. With the core, this is before Braun left, even, who was the best defensive numbers-wise defenseman that the Flyers had to offer. That's scary.
Sad.
Right? That is very sad. He's a career plus 25 player, and that was the best one we had, right? So as a whole, the Flyers defensive unit is an embarrassing minus 54 when I wrote this article on the season, all right? But you look over the course of their careers combined, they're a minus 271.
Oh my
all right?
gosh.
That's not good.
That's
not good. This is the people that you signed to be on your team, right? and back up your star goaltender Carter Hart, right? So, with that being said, let's look at some of the better teams of the NHL on defense, their defensive units as a whole. The Carolina Hurricanes do it well, and they've done it with a lot of turnover. They had a lot of guys leave out. Dougie Hamilton being the big name there, among others. Their best defensive player, they don't overpay guys. Simply, they don't do it. They can find, and they have found, successors to their players after they decide they want money. So in doing that, they brought an impressive player back who I want the Flyers to sign next season to replace the experience that Braun and Keith Yandel bring to the team in veteran Ian Cole. Ian Cole has
we have talked about him.
2 Stanley Cups to his credit. And they brought him in. He's a career plus 127. All right. They also brought in Ethan Bear, who was a great young player up in Edmonton that they didn't need to lose because their defense is horrid.
Right.
And they brought in an offensive defenseman, a controversial signing of Tony DeAngelo from New York Rangers. We all know the situation there, but they were willing to give him a chance at a very cheap, under $1 million contract, I believe. So to add to that group of Jacob Slavin, Brady Skidja, and Brent Pesce. So with that new core down in Carolina this season, at the time I wrote this article, they are an average of 2.3 goals per game they give up. Very good. Only 29 shots roughly a night. That's a lot different from what the Flyers were posted at.
Man.
And they've only given up 23 power play goals. Like I said, nearly double or nearly, half of what the Flyers have this season. Exactly. And the reason for that is that defensive core. They have the league's best penalty kill at 89.10% of their penalties that they are able to kill off.
Yep.
And, this season, they were, at the time I wrote this, a plus 64 combined for this season. That's a big difference, guys. And a combined plus 267 for their careers as their whole defensive unit there. All right. This is why. This is the difference where the Flyers are versus the best in the league. That's why they're not in the playoffs this year, guys. They don't make informed decisions. They look at, hey, this guy scores a lot of points. Well, that's great, but I don't care. An old coach told me before, he doesn't care how many points you put on the board. If you score 50 goals a year and you out on the ice when the other team scores 75, you're not doing your team any favors.
No.
All right. So with that being said, we'll take a look at the Tampa Bay Lightning real quick. And the same numbers. They have a 2.79 goals per game average scored against them. They only allow, again, 29 shots roughly per game against them. They've allowed 36 power play goals on the year. A very effective, still 80% of their penalty kills. They're able to punch out there, but their defense as well is a combined plus 56 for this year, and an unreal almost heard of plus 499 for their defensive core. All right, for their careers.
Wow,
that's
like combined all 7, 8 guys, whatever, all combined.
Right. All 6. That's just the starting 6.
Or 6. I'm sorry, 6. Yeah,
starting 6. So for a plus 499 compared to the Flyers minus 271 right now.
That's a big difference.
This is pretty simple when you look at statistics, guys. It's pretty simple math. The Tampa Bay Lightning are going to win more games because their defense is out there and defending better, flat out. And to solve this problem, you look at these players, like I said before, some potential to come back their way. There's a lot of open spots on the Flyers roster. Yes, like I said before in the other article, they should move to the youth and play guys like Cam York and all that. But you still need, with Justin Braun heading out, with Keith Yandel heading out.
And Yandel's not heading out. Brassard headed out.
Well, yes, but at the end of the season, Yandel's done. His contract is done. They're not going to re-sign him. He's had horrid numbers this year. He saw a steep decrease in his play, so he's probably most likely going to be a free agent and go elsewhere if he's still going to play. So you have to bring back in a little bit of veteran leadership on that back end. Provorov has played a lot of years, but he's still fairly young and inexperienced.
I don't look at him as a veteran leader.
I don't think so. I don't think he's a leader on that blue line.
No, I don't think he is.
And that's the case. You still have, Ellis there as a leader, but how much of a leader can he be if he's not out on the ice?
Hello.
All right. So let's take a look. We already mentioned Ian Cole, bringing him in. He's a 2-time Stanley Cup winner. He's, a consistent wherever he goes, the Penguins, the Avalanche, the Minnesota, now Carolina. He's been a force and has really helped that team out wherever he is. He made roughly $2.9 million this season, and those reasons before said are because of that. But if a Flyers don't feel that they can produce that much cap space to give to him, to bring him in next season, to steal him away from potentially signing back with Carolina, a guy that they should look at as well is off Tampa Bay's roster that you may not have even heard of before is Jan Ruta. Well, most informed people have, but if you don't follow as closely as we do, you may not have. He's Tampa's 5th or 6th defenseman. And he's 31 years old. He's 6'3", 204 pounds. He's a right-hand shot defender, which the team still needs. And he's a plus 14 at the time I wrote this article and a plus 35 on his career.
Hey.
Like Cole, he's a 2-time Stanley Cup champion.
Hey.
Maybe by the time they have a chance to sign him, maybe a 3-time Stanley Cup champion. Okay, he's coming off a much cheaper 2-year deal that pays him just $1.3 million per season. So the Flyers may be able to bring a guy like this in for a lot cheaper rate than a guy like Cole would be to bring in, and you could still pretty much get similar use out of him and solidify that defense. It's just horrid. It's just horrid at this point.
It is. Lance, this is why I like the way you write, and I like the style that you write and everything like that. The fact that you not only present the issues and the problems, but you also present a solution for said problem. Okay? I am not very pleased with how the whole thing has gone down with not just Giroux, but what this organization has done in the last 4 years. It's been nothing short of a huge disappointment when everybody thought that this team was so much quote unquote closer than okay, look, apparently you aren't as close as you thought you were, or we'd be winning more games. I mean, it ain't rocket science here, folks. You say we have a good team and you're saying that this is this and this and that. Well, all right. Well, I don't even see 20 wins yet. Okay. And 20 wins, barely 20 wins, March 24th doesn't get you nowhere in the NHL.
No, it doesn't.
Okay. And
get you to a lottery pick.
Okay. So that doesn't give me the warm fuzzies either. No. With the current situation going, in Philadelphia, that doesn't give me the warm fuzzies either. I mean, I was not happy about the fact that Chuck continually put us back into cap purgatory by signing all these players, and then none of these players even were able to lace them up and skate for the team. Now, that's not Chuck's fault, but doing the due diligence to be picking players that are prone to be injury so that you don't pick them or sign them or whatever. Mm-hmm. Okay. So there you go. Look,
there's a reason why Nashville was willing to give away Ellis. As good as he is when he's on the ice, there's a reason why a team like Nashville, who's having success this year, is willing to part with a guy like that and take on, Felipe Myers in return for a guy like that.
Who has actually been playing really well down in Nashville, all things considered.
He did. He started out pretty rough, but yeah,
Right.
he's coming along a little bit now.
Coming along there, well, hey, they're actually playing him the way he's supposed to be played, and they're putting him in this position to be successful. And
Imagine that.
Oh wait, that's not what the Flyers do. They put their guys in the off wing. They put their guys in the off position. They're not setting guys up for success. Look, all of this being said, Philadelphia has a huge mountain to climb this offseason.
Right.
Now, I've heard from a few pundits, and I've heard from a few other folks that are close to the team that say that this team is not that far away. And I've been hearing that now for the last 3 years. Except that I'm still hearing it, and I'm not seeing any of the results. Right? Well, if we're not that far away and we only need a couple more pieces, where are those couple more pieces? And
it's funny that you say that, Steel. I am currently editing a piece that tells just where those pieces might be that
it's like
could
we're
come.
Connected or something.
Yeah. They're within the system now. A few of them are.
Yeah.
And I have another article coming out where they could find maybe a couple more just in case those players that are already in the system don't quite live up to be what they thought they would be when they reach the ranks of the Flyers or the Phantoms, like others.
Exactly.
Frost and Radcliffe and everybody else.
Right. Well, there you have it, folks. We got a little update here on the upcoming juiciness from the writer extraordinaire, man. Can't wait to hear and see those. Lance, why don't you tell the folks where we can find you, where we can get all your great articles, and how we can reach you?
Sure. You can get all my articles on flyersnittygritty.com. You can catch them here at SteelFlyers.com. You can find me on Twitter at LNGBASSIST, the numbers 39. You can check all your Flyers fan pages on Facebook. They're all posted on there. You can listen to us on any audio platform where you find podcasts. And you can catch me at the NCAA college playoffs this weekend.
There you go. Awesome sauce. Yeah, man. Awesome sauce, man. Listen, Hockey Writers Inc. is out there on Apple, iHeart, Google, Amazon, Spreaker, Spotify, you name it. We're out there. Check us out. Like us and subscribe to us. Hit those 5 stars. That gets us up there. That gets us recognized. We're also out on YouTube, so check us out there. And SteelFlyers.com. I'm your co-host, Steel Flyers. You can find me on Twitter at SteelFlyers52. Thank you very much for another great episode, Lance. Big thank you to the folks there at Flyers Nitty Gritty for all your help and support. That's the Hockey Writers Inc. Salute for that. Also, big thanks to friend of the show, Jim Jackson and Isaiah from O&B Puckcast. They kind of filled in a little bit last week, and we did a little show there with Jim and Isaiah. That was pretty fun. Got to go check that out as well, too. So thank you very much for watching the Hockey Writers Inc. We will catch you all on the next episode.
Thanks, guys.